Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we're back from break, and we're all IT professionals, and we're here to talk about communication. Now, it came to our attention earlier that some people in the company think that, we're not communicating effectively. And so we have an opportunity to address those here. And several of you have mentioned, I struggle. When it comes to communicating with some of the people out of IT, I struggle. It's painful. And so now we get to address that so that that pain doesn't exist anymore. Now, just to recap, we've already gone through the first couple parts of our agenda. We went through the introduction, and we went through the issue definition. And you went through and made sure that all of those items that you want to talk about are covered in our agenda. And just as a recap, our purpose as IT professionals will reach an agreement on how to bridge our communication gaps with the company overall. So again, our purpose here today is to bridge those communication gaps with the company overall. And when we talk about agreement, the way we will look at agreement is we're going to use the five-finger technique. So so once we get to the point where we've identified some of our alternatives, 5 means that I love it. 4 means I like it. 3 means I can live with it. 2 means I'm kind of leery. And 1 means I loathe it. And so when we go through that part of it, now our definition of agreement is that we can live with it, which means 3, 4, or 5. So if we have 1s or 2s, that gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit more through it. So with that being said, let's talk now a little bit about alternative identification. What are some things that we can do to bridge this communication gap that's going on within the organization between IT and the rest of the company? So imagine that you're talking to some people that are outside of IT and that communication is going beautifully. They're understanding you, you're understanding them, you feel heard, they feel heard. What are those things that are going on in that exchange so that you're able to communicate effectively? What are those alternatives that we've executed that have allowed the communication to really go smoothly? So think about that for a moment, and at your tables, talk amongst yourselves, identify ideas, and then we're going to go around by table, and I'm going to write the ideas that you generated as a team. So take a moment now. We're going to do 2 minutes. Talk amongst your table teams, and identify some alternatives to address this communication gap. And begin. Identify alternatives so that you can bridge that communication gap. And I put a couple, did I put them on the other tables? Let me see. Okay, yep, I put them on the other tables. Here they are. So here are just a couple ideas if you get stuck with the brainstorming to kind of get you going. Well, I'm going to write them, and so, but if you're kind of stuck with the brainstorming, you can say it. Yep. So, no, you don't have to write them.
Oh, they work.
We'll have,
Take 30 more seconds. Okay, and time. So let's share some of these ideas, and let's begin with the black table. Share with us your first idea that you came up with as far as how we can address this communication gap.
a process plan with both IT and versus other departmental language. Like, figure out a way that there's a common language. there's an understanding.
It could be a checklist with IT,
English. In other people's language, and what that means in other people's terms.
So would it be safe to say that you're saying a checklist to,
a glossary. We call
Yeah.
or a glossary?
Yeah, that's good, that's good.
Well, I guess I was thinking if it was like, if we're doing a body of work together, that there was an agreement that was kind of stated out in at each of
So,
Project,
for the
so that
project.
it's easily understood.
so would you mind headlining that? So,
I would,
Project checklist.
a project, yes.
Glossary.
A project contract or something, or
a project contract. Okay. With common language. Great. And so what we've got here for this first one is a process plan with both IT versus departmental language, a checklist or glossary, a project contract with common language. Does that accurately capture that one? And did you have other ideas, Black Table?
We had another one, a company-wide communications class.
A company-wide communications class.
Yeah.
Awesome.
With a mixture, so each class had a mixture of people from different departments, so that there could be discussion on an understanding of the way those different departments kind of operate and think.
So basically a company-wide communication class, and you said with?
People from each department.
Okay, with people from each department attending.
Yes.
Great. Great idea. Wonderful. Other ideas from the Black team? Great, thank you very much. So let's move on to the Blue team. What ideas do you have?
They got all of ours except one, and that is to create a practice of summarizing what we've heard the other person say to make sure that we got it right because we speak different languages.
So creating a practice of summarizing what we heard the person say, given we speak different languages. And explain to me how that's important.
Well, I think that what happens is that people think they understood what the other person said and go away with a different understanding than the person intended them to have. So if we summarize back and check in to make sure that we have heard what the person intended us to hear.
Great. Okay, so create a practice of summarizing what we heard the person say, given we speak different languages. Wonderful, great. And was that your last item that's not already up here?
follow-up. Did we want, beyond that was sort of, once something started and is implemented, that we kind of check back with you to make sure that.
Okay, so when something is started and implemented, we check back to ensure that that's what was wanted? Okay.
In between the two, so that practice of summarizing, that follow-up effort, you can be summarizing back so that you make sure.
So when something is started and it is implemented, we follow back to ensure understanding. Great. All right, so let's move on to our green team. And if you'd like to share with us, what alternatives did you come up with?
One for creating incentives that would motivate better communication.
So create incentives that would motivate increase communication. Okay. Great, and did you have another idea?
We have an idea to survey our clients. So we
understand what the issue is from their perspective.
Okay. So to survey our clients so we know what the issue is. From their perspective. Great. And then also, our red table. What ideas did you come up with for alternatives?
Well, one was already said, which was get communication training.
Okay, wonderful. So we've got that accomplished.
Yeah, and the other is practice listening skills.
Okay, and is that accurately reflected on the charts right now? Nope. So practice listening skills. Great. Okay, wonderful. So we've got a good list of items to consider as alternatives. Now let's just think about this and consider possibly some of these alternatives can be grouped. And so if we think about it from a grouping perspective, let's take a look at the first one. And we've got here a process with both IT versus departmental language, a checklist or glossary, a project contract with common language. So we'll talk about this one. Can we come up with some categories, or do you want to kind of keep going and seeing if some of these can be grouped? Keep going? Okay. Next one, a company-wide communication class with people from each department attending. So is this the same or different? Different. Okay, let's keep going. Create a practice of summarizing what we heard the person say, given we speak different languages.
That, to me, is a component of the one above.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so these kind of go together. Is there a grouping for that, or kind of keep going?
I think that we could call that
Honing
communication skills. Yeah.
Okay.
skill building.
Okay. So we'll call that skill building. Let's see, I'm going to use this chart here. And so our first category then will be skill building.
And I would specify communication skills.
So skill building with the emphasis on communication. Does that accurately capture it? Okay.
And just to save you a bit of time, practice the listening skills.
Okay. So this one is A. This one is A. And do we have agreement that practice listening skills also falls under the skill building? Everyone agree? Okay, great. Wonderful. So we've got our first category. Let's keep looking. We also have when something is started, it is implemented, we follow back to ensure understanding. So is that the same or different from any of these others?
I think it's similar to a process plan. That would be one of the steps in a process plan.
Okay, so do we have a category that these two might fall under? Or not? Process plan? Okay, so let's make that our second category. All right, and so that includes both this item as well as the process plan item. Great. Okay. So let's move on. Our next one is create incentives that would motivate increased communication. So does that sound similar to, the same, or different from what we have already?
Different.
Different. Okay, great. And do we have maybe a category for this, or kind of keep going? Zone category. Okay.
We might work with the next one on find out what our clients want and need.
Okay, so the one,
Market needs and wants.
so survey our clients so we know what the issues, what the issue is from their perspective. So,
It could be similar if you call it, client needs.
okay, and I saw a hand.
Yeah, I actually think a survey could be part of the processes.
Okay, so possibly part of process plan? Okay, what does the rest of the group think?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put survey as part of the process plan. And when we're talking about create incentives, so if this is its own category, what would be a category name for this?
Reward and recognition.
Reward and recognition? Reward and okay, it sounds like I've heard that a few times.